Hey there, I'm Kelly Sienkowski with Potomac Local News, and we are shining the spotlight on our local Stafford County School Board election. With me today is Shannon Fingerholz. Shannon, how is your day going so far?
It's going pretty good. It's actually not ridiculously hot, which is nice. I'll take it while we have it.
Yeah, we're having our first big fall.
Right?
Uh,
Yeah, exactly.
so Shannon, go ahead and tell me a little bit about you, please.
So really, I'm just a mom, a neighbor, an advocate kind of for the school system over the last several years. And in deciding to run and to kind of switch my advocacy to going into one of those squishy chairs on the dais was kind of a long process for me. Um, a lot of a lot of thought went into it over the years, and it was always no, no, no. I don't really want to do that because advocates have a little bit more freedom for them. But then I just realized I have all this knowledge and I have all this passion, and the kids are worth it, right? So again, I'm just kind of a mom. I write better than I speak. I'm a horrible speller. People say I suffer from chronic volunteerism because I raise my hand all the time when someone needs help. But now I'm ready to kind of put some of this, like I said, knowledge and passion towards something that's meaningful for the kids.
You're ready for the Hartwood District, is that right?
Yes, that is correct. I'm actually running for school board in Hartwood.
Do you have any background in education, or you mentioned children? Do you have children who are students in Stafford County schools?
I do. So I don't have any background in education other than just, volunteering when folks need help and working in the schools and the PTA kind of volunteer stuff. Back to that chronic volunteerism thing. But I do have a daughter, and she started at Hartwood actually as a peer model in the preschool program, and then went to Rising Star when that moved over there. So we got kind of experiences in two of some of the oldest buildings in our county and some of the needs there. And then she went to Rocky Run, and now she's headed to Gales. So I've had experience in a lot of the different schools, and then I've been going to school board meetings, work sessions, retreats, town halls, board of supervisors, the same thing for the last several years, and have learned a ton by just kind of sitting where the decision makers make the decisions.
Sounds good. For our viewers, we invited all of our candidates to the school board to participate in these interviews by asking them the same five questions. So Shannon, we'll go ahead and jump into the first question.
Okay.
With Stafford's rapid growth and increasing in school enrollment, what are the biggest challenges ahead, and how should the school board plan to ensure that the schools can meet those demands?
That's an excellent question, right? Because we've had some growing pains over the last decade for sure. I've been here since the 90s, and I've seen those growing pains. And we are finally getting five new buildings, which sounds so massive. We're getting two brand new elementary schools, and then we're rebuilding Hartwood. Knock on wood, until things can change. CIPs are flexible documents, or they call them living documents, but it should be rebuilt for Hartwood, a rebuild for Drew, and we're getting a new high school. And that's just not enough. Once they open, they're going to be very full. And the reason that we're building so many at once and it's still not enough is because we stopped probably about like a decade and a half ago. There was some weird contention that happened between the Board of Supervisors and the school board. And because the Board of Supervisors is the funding body for the school board can't raise their own funds or kind of determine that bucket of money that they're allowed to use. It just stopped. And so now we have all this reactionary building, reactionary repairs, and we can't keep reacting that way. We know we're going to grow, and whether we grow or not, maintenance is always going to be a need. There's always going to have to be. So we have to plan accordingly. And so doing something like a revenue sharing agreement between the Board of Supervisors and the school board. And this is where basically agreed upon percentage is transferred each year from the county budget to the schools. And a revenue sharing agreement allows both the county and the school system to plan for those, 4, 5, 10 years out because that ends up being more efficient. It ends up being more cost effective. Because everybody knows emergency repairs or knee-jerk decisions on school site locations just cost more in the end. So um, we've definitely got to monitor the growth and we've got to plan for it and budget accordingly and responsibly.
Again. Shannon, other than funding, what do you think the school board's top priorities should be in the coming years?
Other than funding, unfortunately, somebody in one of the town halls that I went to had said, like, everything comes back to money. And I was like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like because that's not everything. But in the end, when you talk about, hey, let's have this opportunity for the kids, or let's do this, let's build a building, let's fix a pipe, it all does kind of go back to funding. But there are, not everything is money, right? There's definitely culture, there's support. So the three top priorities, though, should be the three main things. When you think of a school, what do you picture? You picture kids sitting in a classroom with a teacher. So without having that safe space for them to sit in a building and learn from a teacher, you can't have any of the other things. No amount of technology, gadgets or vocational access or any of those things are going to matter if there's not a building to store it in, for kids to sit in, a teacher to teach them, and then for them to feel safe in that environment. So those are the three absolute main things that need to stay a priority for the school board, and their policies should definitely reflect kind of those three things. And supporting the teachers, especially in like discipline. I know a lot of the teachers don't feel supported when they discipline and or when a child needs to have a consequence that's written in the guide already. So that kind of goes back to safety again, right? It goes back to that main thing. So supporting the teachers are is really hugely important.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And the school board and the board of supervisors often share responsibilities when it comes to funding and long-term planning. How would you describe the ideal working relationship between the school board, the board of supervisors, and other county departments?
Yeah. Um, it's not been great, again over the years, the last, decade and a half or so, there's been a lot of contention, a lot of fighting, a lot of I'm not going to give you this because I'm mad at you. And the people that suffer aren't the elected officials that are doing this back and forth. It's our kids that are sitting in those seats, which is it's just absurd. We're the adults. We need to be the adults. It has gotten better. We've seen some improvements. I do like that the two chairs kind of had a meeting, a town hall meeting this year between the two boards, and that was awesome to be able to let people talk. And I think we really need more of that. We need to invite the board of supervisors, and I know they do get invited to a lot of the school things, but really encourage them to come. They need to be a partner in what's going on in the school. The school is a huge part of the county's budget. It's the largest employer in our county, all of those things. So, and all of the kids, pretty much a huge portion of the kids go to our schools. So we need to make sure that that partnership is really, really solid. So continue to work on including them and not just going to them with Mother May I have more money times, but hey, we're doing this event. Come hang out with us. Come see what the school's like. Come put boots on the ground. And then the schools can, also shout out at events like, hey, we also have our board of supervisors here. And then that could kind of build the connection with the community like oh wait they are working together because perception really is reality and we need to work on that so
That's fair. So, Shannon, if you are elected, how would you approach the budget priorities? What areas of school spending do you believe need more investment? And where, if anywhere, would you cut costs?
oh that's an excellent question too so more budget focus needs to be on our three R's which is like all the repairs that need to be done to the schools I know personally so again, we were reactive. We had to wait and build all these schools now. So last summer, there was enough trailers put at our schools to fill an entire elementary school. So my daughter was in one of those trailers, no big deal. I was in a trailer in school, in classes. But it ended up being a bigger deal because her teacher's foot fell through the floor of the trailer. There were soft spots on the floor where the kids couldn't walk. Yeah, I know. I was like, wait, what happened? They went in one morning, like one Monday, and there was a big mushroom growing out of the floor. So, like, that's not really a great, yeah, it's not really a great thing. And then you start worrying about, the health of the air and all of that. And then, like, we had the pipe that bust in, I think it was Rodney Thompson Middle School. Thank God that was in the middle of the night because it was 165-degree boiling water that came pouring down into the cafeteria. And that could have been so, like, even just thinking about I get goosebumps because the so many people, so many kids could have been tragically hurt. Um, and so we need to budget to be able to maintain our houses, right? We maintain our houses. Schools need to maintain their houses as well, especially because our kids are in there and they don't get a say, they gotta go. So we need to make sure that they're covered. And then to reduce funding, because the right now there's such a shortfall every single year, what they ask for and what they get is not always matching. That's a really hard answer. There's really nothing big that would make a huge impact. I call it budget dust, but there are some small things, maybe reducing the amount of color printing. And I know that sounds so small, but when you get these, they're really beautiful when we go to a town hall and it's all colored printing, but I know how much colored printing cost. When we feed the school board, maybe we find other ways to feed them at a lower cost. So again, it's all very small budget dust that I think could maybe have some little bit of improvements.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kind of our last question. What makes you the right person to represent your district on the school board? And what else do you want voters to know when they're heading to the polls?
Oh yeah. Well, first, when you're heading to the polls, vote local. A lot of people vote like the top of the ticket, but they'll leave school board or board of supervisors open, and that is actually what really impacts your day to day, right? So, um, don't skip that. Do at least a little bit of research, and vote for one of those folks so that you know who's going to be representing you, who's going to be using your tax dollars that you spend or that you pay so heavily. So, I'm not an expert, right? No elected official or very few elected officials are experts. What you're voting for is somebody that has passion, has truly cares, is willing to do the hard work, and is willing to sit down and listen, right? We go back to kind of the board of supervisors issues. That's also with the community. I when I go to like town halls or even like the Protect Stafford organization that's started up, any of those things in the audience of the board of supervisor meeting or the school board meetings, you hear over and over that people don't feel like anybody's listening to them. There's not a conversation. And they know that every vote's not going to go the way that they want, but they at least want to know that they are valued, that their knowledge is valued. We got a lot of wicked smart people and wicked passionate people in this county. And again, no elected official is an expert. So listening to them and taking their opinions, their experiences, their knowledge, all of that into account is so important. And that's something that I love to do. I love to learn and I love to sit down and have conversations, even really hard ones, especially ones with people that don't agree with me. Because sometimes you just don't know what you don't know, and hearing it from them, you're like, oh, that really makes sense. So how can we work together and find a solution that will work? You got budget considerations, you got policy and law considerations, but I'm willing to sit down and actually have those conversations so that we can we can make progress because the kids are worth it, right? It takes time, it takes energy, it takes emotion, but man, these kids are so worth it. They're so smart and they're just so creative, and they're gonna be the folks that take care of us down the road, right? They're gonna be leading Stafford. And if we don't teach them how to critically think and how to um work with each other and pass that knowledge down to them, then, Stafford's going to keep being stuck. We're not going to really make a lot of progress. So we need to have someone that's willing to sit down and take all those voices into account and pass down that knowledge, and I'm excited to do that.
Thank you.
You're
For the
welcome.
viewers at home, we're going to be compiling all of these interviews into articles so that you can stay informed about your local election. So Shannon, I want to thank you so much for jumping on with me today and helping me put the spotlight on our school board election.
Absolutely. Thank you for giving me the time. This was fun.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.